I think that's how it works, and we are live. So yeah, hopefully that's live. And yeah, I want to do a video slash podcast, solo podcast, talking about obviously the big news of today. I didn't think that a simple video would actually do it justice because there's a lot of information that needs to be conveyed here. So yeah, I wanted to kind of go through everything and kind of collect all the data that was coming out and things like that. And now it looks like that is something that I've been able to accomplish. So as everybody comes in, if you could go ahead and hit the like button, share it out, all that kind of good stuff, and hopefully everything's coming through nice and clear. Yeah, this is pretty big news. I mean, there's a lot of people that are obviously going to be talking about it and stuff like that. But as you guys come in, please hit the like button. Like I said, share it out, and that's the best thing you can do. So there's a lot of questions also to be asked about this particular situation, and I'm going to answer as many as I can. Right now, I'm just tweeting this out. So if you guys have like social media and stuff like that, please feel free to, tweet it out and stuff like that. I would definitely appreciate it. Yeah, pretty big news. Hold on, Johnny Warren says you flip flop. No, listen. Anybody that thinks that this, and I'll be honest, this is a big move for Microsoft, but it's a big move for Game Pass. It doesn't seem like this is a move for exclusivity or anything like that. I really honestly do feel like this is a big deal for having, uh, you know, content for Game Pass, which is Microsoft future, right? Like I don't know if their future involves hardware or not, but their future does definitely, indeed, include Game Pass. So that's something that they have to absolutely kind of put into there. So if you are right now just learning about this news, it came out early this morning. Xbox Bethesda, they welcomed the talented teams and beloved game studios, franchises of Bethesda to Xbox. Critically acclaimed creators of The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Wolfenstein, Doom, Dishonored, Quake, Starfield, and more join Team Xbox. Today is a special day as we welcome some of the most accomplished studios in the games industry to Xbox. We are thrilled to announce Microsoft has entered into an agreement to acquire ZeniMax Media, parent company of Bethesda Softworks, as one of the largest, most critically acclaimed, privately held games developers and publishers in the world. So, yeah, they're actually making it kind of known. Hey, we made this big deal. Trust me, it's no secret why they did this a day before, pre-orders went live on the Xbox Series S and Xbox Series X. They wanted to get it out there that, hey, we've got, this kind of big news to announce. Now, the interesting thing is this absolutely doesn't really change anything for the near term to short term to even maybe long term, because if you think about it, there's nothing that Bethesda really has coming out that is going to be bolstered by this move. So if you think about it, what I'm trying to say is, right now Bethesda has Ghostloop or Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop coming out, but those are confirmed to still be timed exclusives to PlayStation 5. So Phil Spencer actually confirmed that, and that was something that I think shouldn't really come as much of a surprise to anybody because they were able to, secure what they were trying to secure. And, clearly what this stuff all comes down to is the fact that Microsoft wants, content for their own sort of Game Pass deal. So yeah, that's the interesting part right here. So, as one of the largest, most critically acclaimed, privately held game developers and publishers in the world, Bethesda is an incredibly talented group of 2,300 people worldwide who make up some of the most accomplished creative studios. So all these studios are included in this buyout: Bethesda Softworks, Bethesda Game Studios, id Software, ZeniMax Online Studios, Arcane, Machine Games, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog, Roundhouse Studios. These are the teams responsible for franchises like The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Wolfenstein, Doom, Dishonored, Prey, Quake, Starfield, and many more. Bethesda games have always had a special place in Xbox and in our hearts of millions of gamers around the world. Our teams have a close and storied history working together, from the amazing first Doom and its id Tech engine, innovating games on PC. So that's very interesting that they're talking about that right now. All of our work and the foundation of our relationship with you starts with a commitment to deliver a breadth of amazing games to discover and play on Xbox. Over the last few weeks, we've been excited to share more details on important elements of the plan we've been building towards for years, a plan that is fulfillment of a promise to you, the Xbox player, to deliver the most formative, immersive, and compatible next generation gaming experience, etc., etc. Please join me in welcoming our friends at Bethesda Game Studios. So yeah, that was from the official presser from Microsoft themselves, which was very interesting. So You know, again, very interesting stuff. Very interesting to sort of sort of kind of go that way or whatever. And I think that it's something that a lot of people are gonna kind of have to understand that Microsoft really uh, cares a lot about stuff like Game Pass. You know, this is a big Game Pass move, but is it really a move that's going to do much for anything else? I think that's really going to be the big sort of question going forward. So, hey, everybody hit the like button. Let's see if we can't get up over 150 likes real quick. For what this means in terms of, are the games going to be going to other developers or anything like that? It's a weird situation, right? Please, like I said, hit the like button. I'd like to get up over 100 if we could, because there's a lot to go over with this. So anyway, here's the interesting part. From Microsoft has acquired it, and they released a press statement as well. And again, the interesting part to this is that the actual transaction won't go through until the second half of the fiscal year 2021. So like the deal doesn't even take place now. That's probably why it didn't leak, because see, if they would have signed some kind of deal earlier on, we probably would have seen some kind of situation where it was kind of leaked out, because a lot of Microsoft's other purchases did that. This means that they probably didn't have to leak it or anything like that, because it's not going to actually be finalized till next year. It's $7.5 billion, and the deal gives Microsoft ownership of the Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and more. But here's another interesting point of fact for this deal. Bethesda is still going to publish its own titles. So, yeah, that's a very interesting fact. Like, why is that sort of what's going on with this? Like, it doesn't really make a ton of sense as to why they would choose to still publish all their own titles, even though Microsoft owns them now. So that is very much a interesting kind of factoid in all of this information. And so, yeah, that's kind of a lot to take in. But a lot of people are like wondering, exactly what this means in terms of, are the games that have already planned to come out still going to come out? It's probably pretty safe to assume that Microsoft isn't going to change things too much to where they're going to make everything exclusive to Xbox and PC now. So I would assume that a lot of these things are still going to be very much coming on the on both platforms and things like that. So you got to kind of keep that in mind, that if stuff that was already kind of designed for it is going to continue to come out and release for both platforms. So I wouldn't expect that to sort of change much more in the future and things like that. So the interesting other part is that in addition to continue to kind of publish their own games, Microsoft has 23 studios now. So if you want to ask me what my personal opinion is, I think that Microsoft will continue to treat most of the bigger franchises, the Elder Scrolls, Wolfenstein, Doom, all those games, I truly believe those will continue to be multi-platform, sort of like the same kind of deal that Microsoft did with, Minecraft. And like, I know Microsoft also owns stuff like Wasteland 3, that's multi-plat. Psychonauts 2, that's multi-plat. Even though they bought the rights back, they could have made those exclusive if they wanted to, but they still chose to keep a multi-plat, right? So, Outer Worlds, that was published by Private Division, but Microsoft owns that company now and that IP. So, I'm not sold 100% that if they do come out with a sequel to Outer Worlds, that wouldn't be multi-plat as well. So that's going to be kind of an interesting thing to see where this lands. Like, a lot of people ask me, is this a huge deal? It's a huge deal for Microsoft, because Microsoft is going to continue to do well. Game Pass, they said today, has 15 million subscribers. So that's a huge number. That's a 5 million jump just over the 10 million that was announced not too long ago. Now, are some of these like deals, for $1 deals and stuff like that? I'm sure a lot of them are, but still, they're setting themselves up with 23 studios going forward to continually have content. And even if that content is exclusive, I don't really think Microsoft cares about exclusive content at this point. I think they more care about having day and date content for Game Pass, because it adds value to their service, and it certainly does. But just like people on Steam would rather buy Xbox games like Flight Simulator or Grounded or Sea of Thieves than paid for Game Pass on Windows Store or Xbox, I still suspect that PlayStation gamers are still gonna rather buy those games and play them on their preferred platform. So I don't really see much changing in that kind of aspect, just kind of going forward or whatever. I think that's going to be something that we kind of just sort of look forward to. So yeah, that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But like I said, this was a big announcement to make, like right before all this stuff goes on sale or whatever. So yeah, I do really think that it's going to be that it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of works out. But again, I'm kind of wanting to go over this. Hold on. Cake Batter says, "Come on, Crap, walk down the altar and repent. My Sunday Expo community will forgive and accept you." But listen, I'm sure that people expect that, and there's no flip flopping on my end, man. I go where the games are. That's I have to keep it real. This is a big move for Microsoft. Does it hurt Sony anytime soon? Nah, of course not. It doesn't hurt Sony in the least, because I still feel like Sony have a fantastic lineup. They still have a powerful console. And they're still going to get these games. They're still going to get these games, and it seems like they're probably going to still continue to get these games for a long time going forward. So. Bethesda's internal development teams responsible for all these games are now part of Microsoft ownership. Prey, Rage. That's interesting, because I thought like Rage 2 was a bit highly underrated. Prey 2 was also pretty good. Even new properties like Deathloop and Starfield are apparently in this as well. In a blog post, head of Xbox Phil Spencer says the company's franchises will be coming day and date to Xbox Game Pass, and the company has since clarified this means all future releases such as The Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield will be available via Game Pass from launch. In a separate post by Bethesda Vice President of PR and Marketing Pete Hines, the newly acquired company said it will still be publishing its own games, perhaps suggesting some of its games may still come to non-Microsoft systems. And according to Game Industry Biz, which is I'm reading this from, they says that they've contacted Bethesda and Xbox for more information. So there is a lot of interesting stuff to take from this, because I feel like people obviously are going to feel a certain kind of way about it. But for me personally, it's a lot to take in, just in general. Warlord says, "This is a bombshell, not just the games, but the teams. Stop the damage." Dude, it's not damage control. If this stuff is coming to PlayStation, how is that changing anything for Microsoft, in my opinion? Salty Muffin says, "Games only stay multi-plat if there's a release window within 1 to 2 years of acquisition. Elder Scrolls 6 is obviously going to be exclusive to Microsoft." Well, listen. Is it going to be exclusive to Microsoft? As everybody comes in here and it's almost 700, please do me a favor and hit the like button, share it out, subscribe if you haven't already done so. Listen, there's no guarantees, man. Like, don't you think it would have been a huge thing for Microsoft if they would have made Minecraft exclusive? Do you guys not see, like, listen, I understand, because we're old school gamers, a lot of us, but do you not understand that exclusive in those terms doesn't mean as much to Microsoft as it does to us anymore, right? Their idea is, hey, they don't really care if Wasteland 3 or Psychonauts 2 or Outer Worlds are on other platforms. They care that they have them for you guys in your $10 or $15 a month subscription service that's called Game Pass. That's what they care about, okay? That's going to be appealing to some. Also, budget-minded gamers, people might just go, I don't want to pay $70 a piece for these. I can just pay $10 or $15 a month, or $120 for the year, whatever it is, and play all the games and things like that right then and there. And I feel like that is going to probably lure some people over to it. But to say that this is like a huge blow to Sony, or what's Sony going to do to survive? Sony is in fine position. The PlayStation 5 has sold out pre-orders. It's like the hottest thing going. Just for the short term, right? Like, yeah, it's appealing, but what are they actually going to do? Like, they're so kind of non-committal with what they're going to be doing in terms of the games and stuff like that. I just feel like, it's not something that is easily kind of to discover. You know what I mean? Like, we don't really know exactly what's going on, but I do know from a couple of different instances, because Satya Nadella, who is obviously the head of Microsoft, he actually was saying exactly what kind of my thoughts were on this, which I thought were kind of interesting to say the least. Also, Pete Hines was also commenting on some of this stuff as well. I'll read you what he said as well, because I thought it was worthwhile saying. Hold on, I'm going to pull this up really quickly. So anyway, this is what Pete Hines said. He says, like our original partnership, this one is about more than one system or one screen. We share a deep belief in the fundamental power of games, in their ability to connect, empower, and bring joy, and a belief we should bring that to everyone, regardless of who you are, where you live, or what you play on, regardless of the screen size, the controller, or the ability to even use one. So that was Pete Hines' statement on it. So basically, when he says it's about more than one system or one screen, and the fact that they're publishing their own games, you just kind of get the feeling that this is going to be sort of a very, very multi-plat type of thing. Now, I do think, like, just in my opinion, I could be wrong, but I do think that we might see a situation where, new IP could eventually come exclusive to Xbox, but when or what those games would be, who knows? Honestly, like it's going to be a very interesting thing to see how that kind of works out. Hellblade 2, Stone 23 says Hellblade 2 and Avowed aren't coming to PlayStation. The new Skyrim and Fallout are not going to either. Well, how do we know the new Skyrim and Fallout won't go there? Like that's the thing that I'm kind of wondering. Like how do we know that if they haven't really said one way or the other? Like that was the thing that I was talking about in terms of just what's kind of going on. I just really felt like that's not exactly true. Like I hope that's exactly that's what we get, but I don't know if that's exactly how it's going to work out. Hold on, let me see something. Did I miss one? True Witty says Elder Scrolls is going to be exclusive. Damn, I don't know if that's the case. Like, look, Elder Scrolls Online is already on PlayStation. They're not going to pull that off PlayStation. They're not going to pull Elder Scrolls games off PlayStation. They just spent $7.5 billion. Okay, so you got to think about how they're going to make that money back. Like, would they have spent almost $3 billion on Minecraft if they couldn't have kept that multiplat and make it back? I'm just saying that to me, that wouldn't really make a ton of sense. I also want to point out something. This, according to Bloomberg, who was talking about this, which I'm going to read this, and Satya Nadella says some very interesting things as well. So Bethesda is the publisher of games like The Elder Scrolls, Doom, and Fallout, and also has at least 2 titles slated for debut next year, which are Ghost Loop and Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop, which both are timed PlayStation exclusives, which they'll continue to be so. So they own several studios across the globe, giving Microsoft's Xbox business a much-needed infusion of titles and game developers. It's one of the biggest privately held game companies with 2,300 employees. Microsoft said the latest in the Elder Scrolls series has sold more than 20 million copies, making it among the top-selling games of all time. But again, it's one of the top selling because it's available everywhere. So with the acquisition of Bethesda, we metaphorically and literally double our gaming content capacity, said Microsoft Chief Executive Officer Satya Nadella in an interview. Microsoft is launching a new generation of Xbox consoles in November at the same time as Sony courts PlayStation 5. The games lined up for the new Xbox have so far disappointed some players, especially after Microsoft delayed its biggest title, Halo Infinite, until next year. The software maker has been adding new game creation and content, spending $2.5 billion to purchase the maker of Minecraft in 2014 and acquiring 6 studios in 2018 and 1 last year. Microsoft is leaning on its Game Pass subscription service to draw in users and boost revenue, and needs compelling content to attract customers to the product. Microsoft said that Game Pass is now at 15 million subscribers, up from the 10 million it announced in April. Bethesda games have always had a special place on Xbox and in the hearts of millions of gamers around the world, according to Phil Spencer. Our teams have a close and storied history working together. Recently, however, Bethesda's been working more tightly with Sony. Bethesda had previously agreed to debut 2 of its upcoming games, Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, on Sony's new PlayStation rather than Xbox. Both games were announced as timed console exclusive, meaning they would be restricted to the PlayStation 5 for a fixed period of time before coming to Xbox. Microsoft will, in fact, keep that commitment, Phil Spencer said in an interview. Future games like Starfield will be available on Xbox, PC, and Microsoft's Game Pass video game service. He says, we'll take other consoles on a case-by-case basis. Now, Satya Nadella said Microsoft may consider releasing games on other platforms in the future, and this is what he said. When we think about strategy, whether it's in gaming or any other part of Microsoft, each layer has to stand on its own for what it brings. When we talk about our content, we want our content to be broadly available. So it does sound like, a lot of the bigger name games and things like that will definitely be available on, multiple platforms and things like that, just from the sound of it. I mean, if you look at it, like I said earlier, and sort of the facts kind of back this up, Psychonauts 2, multiplat, The Bard's Tale, multiplat, Wasteland 3, multiplat. You also have Outer Worlds, multiplat, Minecraft Dungeons, multiplat. So a lot of the stuff that they've been doing, a lot of this stuff is strictly multiplat, and they just really care about getting stuff day and date into Xbox Game Pass, which makes a lot of sense just from their perspective that they want to make as much money as possible. And I feel like going forward, that's probably going to be the same type of plan that they're going to continue to use and continue to kind of push as we kind of get forward with the next generation of console gaming and things like that. So just in case you guys didn't know, I just feel like that seems to be what everybody's talking about, and I'll definitely be answering some questions as well. No, listen, like I said, how does this change literally anything going forward for Xbox or PlayStation? If there's 2 games announced by Bethesda for next year and both of those are still timed PlayStation 5 exclusives, when does this kick in? Like, if you were looking for Xbox to get exclusives out of this, you're probably still looking at the same time frame of 3 to 5 years from now. I think that that's still probably the biggest takeaway from this. I think it's a good move from a Game Pass perspective, but I don't think that it's a huge move. I don't think it's a huge move to sort of flesh out anytime exclusive. Like, when do you guys in the chat foresee any of this being exclusive to Xbox? Like, honestly, just curious. Like, because for me personally, like, none of this stuff sounds like it's going to be exclusive, and none of it sounds like it's going to be exclusive anytime soon at that. Even if you were to say, okay, well, Elder Scrolls 6 might be exclusive, they've already said that that's years away, probably 4, maybe 5 years away. Again, you're into 2025 or later by then. Starfield, they say, is far away too. So you have to really kind of look at how that kind of works out. Let me see. Game Pass model can't support AAA game. Well, yeah, listen, Game Pass model, it depends. Like, if they get here's the math that works out. If you have 15 million subscribers paying $10 a month, and that's a big if. I'm not saying that these 15 million pay that, because obviously a lot are like $1 deals and free trials and stuff like that. It's $150 million a month. It's almost $2 billion a year. So if you can double that and actually get people to pay that, you can make almost $5 billion a year, even more if you can triple that. You're making back already what you paid for these developers. But I think a lot of that is real contingent on being able to keep Game Pass games kind of exclusive or whatever to what you're doing. I just feel like that's not what Microsoft cares about. So, like, you could sit there and if you're an Xbox fan and go, hey, this is really great news, and I think it is, but I also think that you have to sit back and look at it from another perspective and say Xbox's real issue was the lack of exclusive games, right? And how does this change that anytime soon? LeVar Washington says, if Microsoft put Bethesda games in Game Pass, but still allowed them to sell games elsewhere, i.e. PlayStation Stadia and others without Game Pass. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So it sounds like that's kind of the way that they're going to be going about this stuff, where, they're going to be able to put their games in Game Pass, and then they're also going to have them on different services and things like that. So according to this anyway, Microsoft expects the deal to close in the second half of its fiscal year 2021, which ends June 30th, and have minimal impact on its adjusting operating income since the shares were down 1.1%, blah, blah, blah. Sony's launch lineup for the PlayStation 5 is stronger than Microsoft's, and the machine is expected to outsell the new Xbox devices, the Series X and Series S, according to industry analysts around the world. This announcement comes at a quote-unquote critical time. The lead up to the launch of next-generation consoles is when gamers pick their quote-unquote religion, he said. The delay of Halo Infinite, the most anticipated Xbox exclusive, is a huge blow to Microsoft, but it is betting that the Game Pass Ultimate will sway more gamers in the long run thanks to day one launches, cloud gaming, and a growing library of appealing titles. Deal talks started this summer. Phil Spencer said leveraging a multi-decade relationship between Xbox and Bethesda, which released its first ever console game, Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, for the original Xbox in 2002. This sort of deal underscores the advantage Xbox has over newer entrants in the gaming market, Spencer said, which was taking a swipe at companies he didn't name, but including Google, I guess. Like, I don't understand why he's throwing hands with Google. Like, Stadia is already dead. Like, I think that whole cloud streaming stuff, like, he should be still worried about, like, the console space. I understand that, like, a lot of the moves they make are based on their ability to sort of go after you know, Stadia or Amazon or whoever, but honestly, they should really just still be going after Sony because Sony's the one taking the majority of the pie. Bethesda was a pioneer in the market for personal computer games and ran an early developer of new types of games, which is pretty cool, I think. You know, I like the move. I still think that it's a pretty good move, and it does bolster Microsoft Studios. I think right away they have some studios that realistically are really good studios. Like id Software probably does stuff with tech that most people haven't dreamed of before. So that's something that a lot of people are going to probably, you know, take away from that as well. I think that that's a huge sort of move and a huge bonus for Microsoft because the thing that I pointed out was this. Why not do something like this? And this would benefit Microsoft if they made it exclusive, okay? Why not, since you already own Bethesda and now you own Obsidian as well, why not have Obsidian make a Fallout New Vegas 2 that's exclusive to Xbox? Now, that would have to be something that's years and years away, but that's something that would be beneficial to Xbox. Or why not have the developers of Doom make a Halo spin-off? Okay, like that to me would be some type of killer app that would go a long way in sort of you know, with doing what they're kind of trying to do. Like, I feel like that's something that they have to accomplish in terms of getting people to, you know, buy into their ecosystem. I get it that their whole ecosystem's a thing and they want people to get Game Pass and they want people to be able to, you know, go out there and buy Xbox. They don't really care so much about that, though. True Witty says, let's be real with the move. Game Pass prices has to go up. Well, listen, here's the thing. I mean, if they want people to get locked in, it's all about the future, okay? So 7.5 billion sounds like a lot, but I just told you like some of the math that would be pretty easy to them. So if they have 15 million and they're paying $10 a month, that's, you know, 150 million a month, almost 2 billion a year. If you can double that, which who's to say they couldn't, you know, they've already since April apparently gotten five more million subscribers. You could double that to 30 million subscribers, and then next thing you know, you know, you're getting, you know, 300 million a month, like 4 billion annually off of this, you know. So I think that that's probably the thinking. And when you think about it, stuff like PlayStation Plus has 45 million subscribers. We don't know how many subscribe to Gold because Microsoft never tells the actual number, but you know, supposedly they get a couple billion a year from that as well. So again, that, like the services and stuff, I can understand where Microsoft is going with this, but as a console gamer, you have to wonder, like, is that a good enough deal, just being able to get these games from, you know, Game Pass and a service instead of paying $70? Is that enough of a deal for you to make you want to get an Xbox over a PlayStation, knowing that those PlayStation exclusives aren't going to be available day and date? Also, you have to keep in mind, no matter what, even if Microsoft decides to keep some of these games exclusive to Xbox, they're still going to be on PC, so you could still play them on PC technically, which would mean going PC and PS5 would still be a smart thing to do, just in my opinion. You know, just in my opinion anyway. So I feel like that could be something that people should kind of pay attention to as well. As we close in on 1,000 people watching live, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, we should be easily get up over what, 300 likes. I think so, man. Hey, I know something that I can give away to the chat if we can get to 400 likes today. If you're an Xbox fan and you want to play Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning, I've got a code for that I'll give away in the chat at the end of the show. If you hit the like button, if we get to 400 likes, how's that sound? So I only have the one code for it though, and it happens to be an Xbox code. So yeah, if you guys are interested in Kingdoms of Amalur on the Xbox, yeah, just hit the like button. We'll see what we can get. I might give away. I have a couple other codes though. I do have a PlayStation code for a game and another Xbox code that I can gladly give away depending on how well we do here today. So we'll just see how it lasts and see how much you guys can get going, because I think that's going to be interesting. Now, the other interesting part among this, in my opinion, is the fact that Microsoft is known for having kind of incomplete games, right? Let's just be real. They're known for having sort of incomplete, unfinished games, and I feel like that's something that, you know, is that going to change with Bethesda? Because even if you love Bethesda, right? And I got to be honest, I like some Bethesda games, okay? But stuff like Fallout, I'm long on record as saying I don't like. In fact, I didn't even play The Outer Worlds because it just reminded me of Fallout in space. I didn't download it. I didn't bother with it. Not my thing. But a lot of people like those games. But I also noticed that a lot of those games are unfinished, and Bethesda has a knack for putting out kind of unfinished games. So if you think about it, it's sort of a it's sort of a situation where it's a match made in heaven if you think about it. So Chase the Chosen One said, "Let's be honest, this is just a Game Pass move. These games will still be on PlayStation." Listen, I 100% think that probably is the case, and then I think that if there are some new exclusives down the line, that we might see a situation where some games could possibly be exclusive or whatever. Like, that's just my personal opinion. Clearly anything can change with these companies from day to day, but Microsoft, if they're smart about it, would definitely make themselves have some exclusive content out of this deal, because I feel like that's something that they drastically need. They honestly need exclusives on top of everything else. So I do feel like they need to kind of get the exclusive content down and get people kind of excited about Xbox as a whole again, because let's be real, to this date, even like someone like me who was an Xbox fan since day one, got every Xbox day one, you kind of go back and you look at things and you just go, well, why exactly did I, buy into Xbox that entire time or whatever? And it's kind of just easy to see that there is a huge difference between that old Xbox and this new Xbox, where clearly even the CEO is saying, hey, we're going to put games wherever, on as many places as we can, because it's all about making that money. And who could argue with that? I would just say that, to me, it definitely feels like a move designed for Game Pass. And aside from being a move designed for Game Pass, it also feels like they want to keep those games multi-plat so that everybody else can play them. And if you think about it, listen, Phil Spencer in April of this year said he didn't like the idea that they set expectations for Xbox fans where certain games, people would say, is that game going to the Switch, or is that game going here, or is that game going there? And then literally he said, we want to do better for our fans. We want them to know if they get a game on Xbox or whatever, it's going to be on Xbox. And then literally Ori 2 comes out, and now just they stealth release it on the Switch. So, these things kind of go back and forth like that, and it's very interesting to see sort of how fans in general react to sort of this, because like Phil says one thing, and listen, all these companies do that. All these companies kind of lie and mislead and things like that, but I do feel like what Microsoft and Sony both have to do is they have to keep in mind that sometimes that comes back to bite you in the butt. And like that came back on Sony a little bit with their situation where they were telling people, hey, we believe in generations. And I'm not saying that I fully think that they never nowhere said we're not going to put anything on PS4 or not going to do any cross-gen, because I feel like they didn't specifically state that, but I do feel like they did mislead people, because they didn't exactly come out when they showed those games and say PS4 and PS5, right? Like, so I do feel like, and I feel like they really dropped the ball with the pre-order stuff, because like I said, I was doing a podcast, they dropped, and all of a sudden everybody's like, get to GameStop, they're doing pre-orders, and and everybody had to leave in the middle of the podcast. So yeah, I do feel like there is sort of that, every company kind of is looking after their own selves, but I also do feel like it's clear from the CEO, clear from Phil Spencer, that they don't care that these games would be on other platforms as long as they're on Game Pass day and date. That's like the most important thing to them. Let me see. Got some more chats here. Chase the Chosen One says, do you think Game Pass will hinder the quality of future Bethesda games? Because I believe they will do to some capacity. I think that could be the case. Like I said, Bethesda wasn't known for having like the most well crafted games to begin with. Like some stuff like Doom, but I think that comes down to the studio, and like Doom is like a more linear shooter, which I gotta say those games play extremely well with the 60 frames and stuff, so I think that's great. That's why I said that studio would be perfect for doing like a Halo spinoff. But I think when you're talking about open world stuff like Fallout and Elder Scrolls, yeah, I 100% believe that there could be some kind of, it depends on what's going on there. Like, Game Pass could end up being a big thing for the long run. Microsoft is playing the long game, and that's something that they seem like they're pretty good at. True Witty says, yo, crap, they may get me with this. I'm a big BGS fanboy. Yeah, listen, I even said that. I was like, yeah, I guess I'll put my money down tomorrow on one. You know what I mean? Johnny Patton says, let's be honest, even if the games aren't exclusive to Xbox, they might as well be with Game Pass 15 versus 70. Also, it's Microsoft's decisions anyway. Well, listen, I don't know if you just joined me, and if you are just joining me, hit the like button. Like I said, if we get up to 400, I'll give away some games here in the chat. Even if, like, it's Microsoft decisions, I get that. But Microsoft also didn't allow Minecraft Dungeons to be exclusive, right? I felt like they probably could have done some stuff with that. Psychonauts 2, that's not exclusive. But I also pointed out a very compelling argument for this, which is people that game on PC could easily just get Game Pass on Windows Store and play all those games, Flight Simulator, Sea of Thieves, play those all included with Game Pass. But they chose to buy the games instead on Steam. Even Halo, right? Halo Master Chief Collection. That sold 5 million copies on Steam at full price, despite the fact that you could have just got those games via Game Pass on PC in the Windows Store. People will play on the platform they prefer if the games are available. So I do think that is exactly what people can do. So it is a win for some people who are maybe budget minded, for sure. But if you're still getting the games on PlayStation, then I don't see why you would decide to switch up all of a sudden, because you're going to miss out. So I mean, I think obviously the best route to go is own both consoles if you can, or a PC and a PlayStation, however you want to do it. But I still think people that are going to want to play those games on their preferred platform. So Andrew Goods says, I still think Sony needs to make a big move, even if this is an all-in Game Pass plan. Hey, they might have to do something, but what can you honestly expect them to, what can you expect them to honestly kind of do to combat this? I mean, let's be real. They're not going to just buy CD Projekt Red or WB or Activision or EA. They're not really going to do it. Like, who can they really go out there and buy that's going to have this kind of impact? Let's be real. Microsoft just bought 8 studios and a bunch of IP. That's going to be hard for anybody to sort of go against and sort of be able to pull that off. So I do feel like that's something that a lot of people are going to have to kind of deal with. Like, yeah, that does suck if you think about it, if you're a PlayStation fan, but nothing changes, right? Like, you don't have to buy those games. You can also get an Xbox or a PC and play them there if you wanted to. But at the same time, I don't think anybody likes every Bethesda game, and those games usually drop pretty drastically in price anyway. So yeah, I think that there's always going to be options there. LeVar Washington says you can buy a PC to play Game Pass games if you're willing to pay $1,200 to $1,800 just to play 4K 60. Listen, you can pay much less than that with the new cards and stuff like that to play, and most people don't play at 4K on a PC anyway. So you have to kind of keep that in mind, sort of as we go along. That gamers in general are going to be able to have all these different options and stuff like that, and that's really what it's going to come down to. Because I feel like at the end of the day, options are super important, and both Microsoft and Sony are going to be able to give us many options. Man, for the amount of people watching, you guys are stingy with the likes, man. I'm even trying to offer you free stuff, man. Free Xbox games, free PlayStation games, and y'all aren't having it, man. You're just like, nah, we ain't going to give you anything. But for some reason, can't even get to a like benchmark. So that's going to be that's going to be funny. Yeah, I did see like this fake thing going around, a fake PlayStation thing, saying that they bought Take-Two or whatever. I don't really see that happening. I think that's going to be very interesting to see go forward and see exactly what what PlayStation's going to do. They might not have to do anything, They might not have to do anything, but if you think about it, I mean, Bethesda's known for a lot of cool stuff and a lot of good games, like Evil Within and those type of games. But even those games, if you think about it, like stuff like Fallout 76, like that game in and of itself is just it's just a mess. So I think that fits perfectly in with Game Pass. So I could definitely see why they're kind of going in with that game and that kind of stuff. So I do think that they will end up with some pretty quality stuff when it's all said and done. But exactly what that's going to be, I don't really know. It could just be that Microsoft had to do something. Let's just be honest. How could they release a console with no hype? Like, there's literally been no hype. Excuse me for 1 second. there's literally been no hype on Xbox Series X or S except for the same people that are hyping everything Xbox. So yeah, I think that that's going to be interesting to see how that works out and how that kind of changes as we get along with with this acquisition. So I also wanted to read one other thing. I mean, I got more to talk about, but I wanted to read something from there was a quote. Let me see here if I can find it real quick. So anyway, this is according to Jason Schreier. He says to answer, and you guys know who he is. He works, I think, for Bloomberg, but he also used to work for Kotaku, and he's like breaks a lot of these insider stories and stuff like that. He says, to answer the question everyone is asking, Phil Spencer tells Dina Base that Xbox plans to honor the PS5 exclusivity commitments for Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo. Future Bethesda games will be on Xbox PC and, quote, other consoles on a case-by-case basis, heavily indicating that, a lot of the big name stuff will probably be, Xbox and PlayStation and things like that. Andrew Goods, I hope I'm saying that right, says, crap, Take-Two Interactive GT exclusive on PlayStation beats anything Microsoft can do. Square Enix, maybe, or Capcom. The thing is, how do you buy Take-Two? Like, honestly, Grand Theft Auto prints its own money. Like, Grand Theft Auto 5 is like, does what, billions of dollars each year alone in microtransactions still with the online portion. So yeah, that's like a pretty incredible thing to sort of to see that kind of happen the way that it continues to happen. Like, we keep seeing like, oh, maybe they can buy this or they can buy that. I don't know that they can. It would be cool if they could get something like, do they have to answer something right away? I'm not really sure, because like Sony has a plan. Obviously they kind of have their own plan and things like that, but what's going to change for for them going forward, I'm not really sure. That Beast says, I buy all my games. I do not do PlayStation Now or Xbox Game Pass because I want to keep my games $10 or $15 a month or $60 for a game I really want for life. Yeah, that's true. And you know what? You can also, like I said, you can keep some of those things kind of. You can get a lot of those games cheap. Like Bethesda games have a habit of doing that. I can remember stuff like Wolfenstein. That went down to like $30. Like a couple months later, a lot of those games tend to do that. Like Evil Within went down to like $30 a couple months later. Fallout, I think, went down to like $15 a couple months later. So yeah, there are a lot of interesting things that can be said about this pickup. But I think one of the main things is Microsoft is proving, at least. Okay, so again, Microsoft is proving at least that they want to be somewhat competitive in the content creation. And what did I say many times? And if you're new to my channel, what's up? But I want to shout out to all the old subscribers, new subscribers, and everybody in between, that I've said this: we're in the content wars. Like, the console wars are over because clearly Sony completely dominates that. But we're in the content wars now. Like, the content is the most precious thing, the most precious commodity. You've got to separate yourself. And before anybody jumps in with, oh, well, Microsoft should buy EA and Activision, I think you might be treading on a monopolization at that point, and I'm not sure that they would be allowed to do that. Sort of like how, there was a little bit of a fuss when Disney bought out, Fox, and they got those characters and stuff like that. There was a little bit of a scuttlebutt because of the obvious situation with, possibly being a monopolization. So, Microsoft will have to deal with that kind of situation sort of as it comes along, but I don't think that they're going to buy EA or anything like that. Besides that, they're paying EA a ton of money for EA Play as it is. Like, for EA Play to be part of Xbox Game Pass, honestly, even though like it's not as big a deal as well, because at the end of the day you have to realize that you're not getting games day and date with EA Play. Even if it's in the Xbox Game Pass, you have to sort of wait for it to come to the vault, which makes it not as appealing. But yeah, like, it's like interesting how Microsoft is going after all this content. And to be fair, I said that they would never get EA games because EA wanted to do their own thing, and they managed to, I guess, attract EA to kind of, do their own thing as well. Like, honestly, if you want to guess how much Microsoft is paying EA, I would assume that Microsoft is paying EA more money for EA Play to be in Game Pass than what they were actually making on EA Play from everybody that subscribed on the Xbox side. So yeah, I think that that's going to be an interesting sort of take just to see how Microsoft and them were able to sort of accomplish that and things like that. But yeah, very incredible news to say the least. If you are just joining me, 100% confirmed, Microsoft has indeed purchased ZeniMax, which actually owns Bethesda, all those studios within, for $7.5 billion. They talked about how this was going to be a big boost for Game Pass, significantly adding all their future games. He even mentioned Starfield and the next Elder Scrolls as being games that are going to launch day and date within Game Pass. So yeah, that's going to be very, very interesting to see how that works out and to see how to see just how that works for the future of all that. I think that that's going to be very, very interesting. But again, if you're a PlayStation fan, I wouldn't worry about like the foreseeable future and if this changes anything, because I'm not sure that it does change much, if anything at all. So also Bethesda had some very interesting words to say as well. They said, today we announced we're joining the Microsoft family, and if you haven't had a chance to read what Phil Spencer and Todd Howard shared in the post this morning, be sure to check them both out. When you work at a place as long as I've worked at Bethesda, just a month short of 21 years, you see some things. Chief amongst them is change. When I started Bethesda, was not much more than a handful of people. The team working on Morrowind fit in a couple of offices, and there were probably 6 or 7 of us spread across everything else. Bethesda Softworks, our parent company, ZeniMax Media, and our many internal studios now employ thousands of talented people working in publishing offices and developing studios around the world. We've gone from one internal studio to many, from a focus on single-player fantasy RPGs to developing massive MMOs, first-person shooters, and everything in between. The world, our industry, and our company has changed a lot in the 34 years since Bethesda Softworks was founded. Today it changed again, and I know that it brings up question. But the key point is we're still Bethesda. We're still working on the same games we were yesterday, made by the same studios we've worked on for years, and those games will be published by us. So why the change? Well, because it allows us to make even better games going forward. Microsoft is an incredible partner and offers access to resources that will make us a better publisher and developer. We believe that means better games for you to play. Simply put, we believe that change is an important part of getting better. We believe in pushing ourselves to be better, to innovate, to grow. And we have a long history of working with Microsoft. Our companies share many of the same basic principles. We believe in a culture that values passion, quality, collaboration, and innovation. When I think back to the first time we decided to shift from being a PC-only developer and make Morrowind for the original Xbox, it was a move that countless people said would never work because on consoles, nobody wanted a game that big and complex, but Microsoft believed in us and so did you, and now RPGs of all shapes and sizes are hugely successful on consoles. Yes, it's a big change for us, but after taking a minute to absorb the magnitude of the acquisition, we're going to continue doing what we do and love, making great games. We're going to keep trying new things. We're going to take the same passion we poured into what we do and the passion that our community brings to the things that we make and do even better. And soon the conversation will move on from this ideal and this deal to talking about our games again, and I can get back to answering questions that get us all excited. Tell you more about Deathloop. When can I see more Ghostwire? What's coming for Q4 for Elder Scrolls Online? I want to see more of Doom Eternal DLC. When the hell will you tell me about Starfield? I'm excited for those conversations and look forward to talking to you all about that and much more in the weeks, months, and years ahead. I believe in the people I work with. I believe in the company we have created. I believe in the communities that have formed around us and the games we make. I believe today's announcements is just the next big thing in a long line of changes in their history that will lead to bigger and better games for us all. So again, he seems pretty high on the fact that, that it's going to actually help out and actually sell a ton of games or whatever, and that could be the case. I hope that that's actually the case, because at the end of the day, nobody wants a lesser quality stuff, but it is awkward a little. Well, I don't want to say awkward, but it is a little bit weird that they are sort of publishing their own games still, and I think that that's something that maybe takes a lot of people by surprise. But at the same time, maybe it shouldn't take people by surprise. I just feel like that's kind of par for the course at this particular juncture. So hey, everybody hit that like button. I would appreciate it. We are very close to 400 likes, man. You guys are really doing good. Yeah. What's up, everybody? Appreciate everybody in the chat. Subscribe if you haven't already. 12 T-flop beast. Yeah, I'm gonna let that go through. Jimmy B says, "Crap, just pre-order a Series X and pick up Game Pass and welcome back to." Listen, I don't need Game Pass. I have it till 2022, but I don't necessarily need it. I mean, I like to. I kind of like. I'm in the boat that a lot of other people are, where I like to actually like own my games as much as possible, and I feel like with Game Pass, I feel like that's a good value for a certain type of gamer. I feel like if you have kids or something, or if you're on a little super tight budget, I feel like those are specifically tailored for somebody like that. For me personally, I feel like I'm much more I'm happy with just like owning the stuff like that. Like, listen, I bought Devil May Cry 5 on sale on Xbox One X for $15 months ago. They did I think it might have been last year even. They did an end of the year sale. I bought it for $15. I played it a little bit. I think it looks great. It plays great. It looks great on the X. It's, 4K 60 on the One X. It's cool. I played the first level, 11 and a half or whatever. Awesome. But it went into Game Pass shortly after that, and people were like, "Oh, you didn't have to buy it. It went into Game Pass." Listen, I've never went back to it, and now it's already gone from Game Pass. So I realized that these games wouldn't leave Game Pass, but I'm just saying, for me personally, like, the games that go in there from the bigger third parties usually leave pretty quickly, and so that's something that for me personally, I would have to take into account. Now, if you're huge into Bethesda games, I could see why this would be a huge deal for you. A lot of people would be interested in sort of getting that or whatever. Hold on, Mike Ortiz says, "Here's this guy flip flop." Listen, dude, Mike, at what point did I say this changes anything? If you open up your ears and listen to what I'm saying, this changes absolutely nothing for PlayStation fans, the situation of the PlayStation 5 versus the Xbox One X or Series S or any of that. It literally changes nothing. You literally have to wait years and years. Like, Microsoft is in the same exact position right now that they have been for years. Like, for any of these stuff to be exclusive, you're looking at years and years and years to come. Okay? That studio, how long have they been talking about Starfield or Elder Scrolls 6, like, already? And they still say that these things are years and years away. So even if those games were Xbox and PC exclusive, you've got years and years and years to wait, just like everything else Xbox. So again, I think that that's a match made in heaven. Okay, this is a big move for Game Pass. It's not a big move to make people want to buy an Xbox. Like, you gotta keep it real with that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta understand that somebody that thinks that Xbox hasn't delivered content, how is this going to change that? I mean, it might change in the future, in the next 2 generations maybe, but for the right now, the here and now, I don't think it really changes next to anything. I just feel like what these companies are doing is just kind of securing these different things, because you do have Amazon coming. You do have Google maybe trying to even buy more studios, and that's why what was interesting was Microsoft was probably super serious about the WB Games buyout, and that was only $4 billion, but the difference is you get none of the IPs included with that. So, yeah, you have to kind of keep that in mind as well, that, without even thinking too much into it, that would have been a ripoff. I think it was 4 or 5 studios for $4 billion, but no IPs included. So, yeah, they've done a good job with this, sort of getting everybody on board with what's going on. That Beast says, "Do you think Xbox will make a Game of the Year next generation, and do you believe Xbox sells 50 million consoles lifetime sales?" Well, hold on. I don't know exactly if you mean Xbox One, or do I think next generation Xbox will sell 50 million. I think next generation 50 million would be hard for them to do, but I do think that, well, will they make a, let's see, do I think they'll make a Game of the Year? No, listen, Bethesda, like, if their games stay multiplat, to me it really doesn't matter. Okay, because I already had this discussion with somebody who says, well, Doom, that means Microsoft will have a Game of the Year candidate already for this year. And I'm like, no, how does that have anything to do with Microsoft? That game's already released. That game, and he says, well, it's an Xbox Game Studios game. And I said, no, it's not. They're all published by Bethesda still. You know what I mean? And this purchase doesn't go through till next year. So, yeah, like, it doesn't really change much. I don't know exactly the history of that, but I mean, they could put out a game that could win Game of the Year, but I don't think that would ever be an exclusive to Xbox and PC or anything like that. I think that whatever they put out that would be big like that, unfortunately, would be multi-platform, because Microsoft does multi-platform games, and that's realistically what they seem to care about the most. So just kind of going forward, it does indeed look like that's exactly what they're kind of getting into or whatever. Let me see if you guys have. I'm going to answer some more questions here too. Man, some of you guys, man, just really take this stuff super seriously. Like, man, I don't know how many times I got to tell you. Listen, the games are the things that are most important. Okay, if Microsoft puts out good games, I'll play them. You know, PlayStation puts out good games, I'll play them. I clap down hard on PlayStation for bungling the whole idea of their pre-order deal, right? Like, who in the world thinks that they do that? I literally called GameStop after the PlayStation event, and they're like, yeah, we're doing pre-orders tomorrow. If I wouldn't have called them back, if we wouldn't have seen all the information going around, I would have missed out on my pre-order, because people were able to go in and actually pre-order them that day still, right? That thing was bungled terribly. Same thing with that message, the mixed messaging with the cross play stuff, right? Or the cross-gen stuff. That, you know, you got to call them out. I saw PlayStation people call out Sony for this, right? For lying, for misleading, including myself. I called them out for this, okay? When you look at the Xbox side, I'm trying to look at anybody besides me and maybe a few other people that were saying Microsoft needs to deliver exclusive content. Content is king. Without content, you can have the best console in the world, but without having something that I can't get elsewhere, you got nothing. You got nothing. Even Mike Ibarra said that. Yes, that dude muted me. But he even came back and said that when Albert Pinello mentioned that velocity architecture on the Xbox Series S meant that it might have better frame rates than the PS5. Mike Ibarra commented back and said, it all comes down to the content. And if you don't have content, you got nothing. So this is what I've been stressing for a long time. And hardly any Xbox fan calls out Microsoft for anything. Let's just be real. That's why I was extremely proud and happy when I saw so many PlayStation fans calling out Sony for being misleading and things like that. And Sony responded. They had to apologize for that. And, you know, on the Microsoft side, you just got everybody just kind of lining up in a row saying, well, Xbox is great and Phil is great and this kind of stuff. And I do feel like that is a little bit of a problem for me personally, because when you're not willing to ask for better, where's that lead us? I mean, it leads us all sort of in the same situation where, you know, we're not going to get better. And I feel like as gamers, we definitely deserve better, and we definitely need to continue to ask for better, because if you don't ask, how are they going to know how are they going to know? You know what I mean? Like, if you're not saying, hey, I'm disappointed with these games, I'm disappointed with the lack of exclusives, et cetera, like, how are they going to know? How are they going to know to fix anything? Like, that's my entire kind of argument or whatever, right? Like, you've got to know that something is wrong. If you're sitting there sugarcoating everything like a lot of Xbox fans do, like a lot of podcasts do, and that's not a knock on anybody in particular, but whenever you tend to watch something, even the big mainstream podcasts, they all give Microsoft the benefit of the doubt, okay? But content is king, and content is what everybody should care most about. And the fact is that Microsoft just does not care. You know, Microsoft for the and even this could be something where people, you know, get this could be a situation where people kind of get into, you know, Microsoft for the first time, or you think, hey, well, this is a very good deal, and, you know, and that's what they do. I feel like that could be a situation like that, and I do hope that Microsoft continues to grow and continues to do good things for the fans, but I also feel like this might not be the big deal that a lot of people think it is, just because of, you know, their past history and wanting to put everything on, you know, on everything. So, you guys are going to be very stoked about this. I think, if you guys heard that, the delivery people are here. Somebody got their next-gen ready TV, their CX OLED. I'm in the official OLED team, guys. So if you didn't know that, I'm ready for next generation. Those 120 frames, that 4K, I'm ready. Chase, the chosen one, says, I think Xbox fans' problem is they take everything out of context and jump the gun, and they get let down later on. Well, listen, that can happen to everybody, right? But I will say this: anybody that thinks that, you know, Anybody that thinks that this is going to really help Microsoft or Xbox like right now, I don't think it does that, because if you look at it, their two next scheduled games are Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop, and those are still PlayStation 5 exclusives next year. So yeah, like guys, trust me. If you didn't know, man, I'm amped. And also, if you didn't know, yeah, so it's a super exciting time to say nonetheless, and it's very exciting to sort of see that would be coming out. Hold on. Brutal Hooligan says, if PS5, I'm going to actually show that. He says, if PS5 did this, you would be talking mad stuff right now. You salt. Listen, how can you be salty when I own an Xbox? Like, I don't understand the thinking behind that, right? Like, what in the world is there to be salty of? Tell me. Brutal Hooligan, please tell me in the chat what there is to be salty of about this. I'm curious. I'm super curious. Jerome Spud says, nice crap. Unplug that stuff during the next storm. Listen, next time there's a storm, everything gets unplugged. Because if you guys didn't know, man, I'm working on a new PC. I had to get a new capture card. My PS4 is busted, so I am still answering messages via my phone and stuff like that. But my PS4 seems like the power supply is blown, so that's getting fixed. I have a standard PS4, but it's only got 500 gigs of memory, and it's not even worth it to me to hook that up at this point, man. I don't want to go back to standard def stuff, to be honest with you, and it would also probably not make much sense. But yeah, let's see. The divide. Oh, he says you switch sides just for your... Listen, if to you financial gain is losing 10,000 subscribers, then I feel sorry for you. Like, let me ask you this, to anybody that thinks this, okay? How does this make sense to anybody? Okay, that when people say that, it pisses me off, and it pisses me off for multiple reasons. Because one, it's making excuses for Microsoft and Xbox. Okay, like there should be no excuses for them having a lack of content, and nobody should have been worried to call them out for lack of content, especially the way that I did it. I had a very successful Wednesday night podcast called Xbox Nation. I stopped doing that because it got less fun. I wasn't enjoying Xbox. How can I sit there and talk about Xbox if I'm not enjoying it? I stopped it. I cut back on the amount of content that I was doing as well, and at the end of the day, I had to just kind of be honest about it. If I'm not playing as much Xbox, I'm not enjoying it. They're I feel like they're lying to me as a consumer and kind of just dragging me along. Phil Spencer's promising games. We just signed deals. We're doing this. We're doing that. And then at the end of the day, they're not delivering on any of this stuff. I'm getting pissed off because I bought 5 Xboxes this generation. I bought over 1,000 games this generation. Well, I don't know the exact breakdown of the amount of games I've got that I paid for versus, but it's probably less than 30 that I've gotten review codes for or, gifted or whatever. So probably close to 1,000 I've just bought myself. And, to see the lack of support for the Xbox One X, which the Xbox One X came out in 2017, and they've released 3 new AAA games since that point that support it, that really showcase it. 2 Forzas and a Gears game, okay? That's disappointing to me. So you can't sit there and say that, oh, he did this for this reason or did that for this reason. It all comes down to the content. And if you're not liking the content and there is no content because there hasn't been any to like, then how is that flip-flopping, man? I bought an Xbox One, for crying out loud, because Killer Instinct, Titanfall, Sunset Overdrive, Quantum Break, Dead Rising 3, Rise Son of Rome, Halo Master Chief Collection, Forza Motorsport. These were games they announced at their Xbox One reveal and E3 2013. I got an Xbox One for the exclusives, people. The exclusives. They had the exclusives. I didn't care that it was less powerful. I didn't even care that it was more expensive. I got it for the exclusive content. As I started slowly shifting over to enjoying more and more PlayStation, it was because of the exclusive content. I was playing Avengers. That's going to get Spider-Man. I played God of War. That's my favorite game of this entire generation. It has nothing to do with what you're trying to insinuate. In fact, I lost a ton going through that. So, I got the CX. So yeah, that's what I ended up getting. So yeah. Yeah, like, listen, anybody can kind of jump the gun and sort of go, oh, well, I'm it for, you did it for this reason or you did it for that reason or whatever. But I feel like as fans we should extremely all be able to get excited about all this stuff, get excited about gaming, get excited about what's coming on the horizon. If this move excites you as an Xbox fan, I think, hey, more power to you. I just feel like for me personally it does not feel exactly like a move that's going to pay off for Microsoft in the short term or even, in the immediate to long term, because these games are probably going to end up being, everywhere for the foreseeable future. And I just feel like that's something that, that's probably going to end up being the case. Like, again, they could be exclusive. I mean, that could be a thing. That would be great. In my opinion, listen, you guys might think that I'm a PlayStation fan, but listen to what I'm saying. If these games were exclusive, that's a huge win for Microsoft. How can anybody sugarcoat that, right? You can't tell me, like, if you're a PlayStation fan, you'll probably get a PC to play these games, but you would get something that would play these games, and you would be paying Microsoft to be in their ecosystem. So that would be a huge win. My question is, and my whole thing is, it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to not put these things on other platforms because they spent $7.5 billion, and a lot of these franchises are, these big AAA, huge, big budget games, and they're probably not going to make it back, at least anytime soon, with them just being Game Pass fodder and things like that. It does not make a whole lot of sense. So that's sort of my point of view on this whole situation. Judah Zook says, sad some people still mad at you for wanting Xbox to do better. I want better than mediocrity as well. That isn't flip-flopping, it's having standards. Thank you, man. Listen, I've gone over this about 1,000,000 times with people, right? Like, 1 minute, oh, your stuff's dead. Nobody cares. Blah, blah, blah. Like, the excuses made for a $1 trillion company full of millionaires blows my mind. Like, I've never seen anything like it before in my life. You guys don't understand that, honestly, this whole thing is ridiculous. Nobody should be making excuses for these guys, because the more you make excuses, the more bonuses these people get, right? Like, to me, it was always a bad thing. If Xbox was succeeding with less than stellar software, how is that good for anybody? Unless you're really liking stuff like Grounded and Battletoads and Bleeding Edge, which who is? I'm just being honest. Out of the majority of gamers, who's like, man, I got to get me an Xbox to play those games? I'm just saying. So if you're celebrating these games, you're celebrating mediocrity. And if Microsoft is making money on mediocrity, what's to drive them to actually put out anything better? That's always been my point. Okay? Like, let's not celebrate mediocrity. Let's push them to do better things. Let's push them to do great things, because that's what gamers really want. Like, and I've ran into so many people that just have this weird kind of outlook that exclusives don't matter because Microsoft has sort of indoctrinated them to go, well, exclusives is anti-consumer. This is anti-consumer. That's anti-consumer. Like, let's be real. There's nothing anti-consumer about having content. If Microsoft were to make Elder Scrolls 6 exclusive, that's not anti-consumer. That's pro-Xbox. You see the difference? That's pro-Xbox. Sony locking down Final Fantasy 16 as an exclusive for a year. That's not anti-consumer. That's pro-PlayStation. That's pro-PlayStation. That's the huge difference. We'll have to see how it goes. Enjoy Battletoads. Game Trailer says, is Forza Horizon 4 mediocre? Bro, that was 2018. We're almost in 2021. When's the next one coming out? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all I'm saying. Okay, I think that the Forza Horizon series, if it wasn't for Forza Horizon 3 and 4, there would be no 90 rated exclusives on Xbox, because Ori 2 is now a multi-plat, full on. It's on the Switch. So without Forza Horizon 2 and Forza Horizon 3 and Forza Horizon 4, there's no games from Xbox Game Studios that hits 90s. But I will say that Forza Horizon 3 is probably the best racing game ever, and Forza Horizon 4 is very corporate. It's very much a game that is a games as a service. So yeah, for me personally, I think that those are good games, but I also think that the majority of what Microsoft has put out, Recore, State of Decay 2, Bleeding Edge, Battletoads, I think most of that stuff is very, very mediocre. Sea of Thieves is really good now, even though I won't go back to it. It is really good right now, but it wasn't when it launched. It's probably an 80 and 85 rated game right now. It's got a lot of content. right? People seem very happy with that. I'm happy for that because I like the game. The problem for me early on with that game was the fact that there were so many cheaters and stuff in it that it made it unfun to play. So I do think that when that game launched, it got the score that it deserved, which was a 69. Crackdown 3, mediocre. So you can't sit there and defend those games and go, oh, well, they aren't putting out mediocre stuff. If you even look at Halo Infinite, that game looked mediocre as crap. Okay, that game looked incredibly mediocre. So yeah, you have to kind of keep it in perspective. I do hope that they change everything around, and I hope that they manage to do some great stuff. And I really do think that that's going to be incredible. You know what I mean? I think that what they're going to do is incredible. But I also think that anybody that thinks that this is like a move that really hurts Sony, I think that you're crazy. I think that you guys don't know what you're talking about. I just got to be honest. I feel like obviously both Microsoft and and Sony have different ideas on what the future is, and I feel like Microsoft feels like their future is and again, if you're just joining me, hit the like button, share it out, all that kind of good stuff. Subscribe if you haven't already. We just have to look at what Satya Nadella said himself today. He says Microsoft is going to consider releasing games on other platforms in the future. When we think about strategy, whether it's in gaming or any other part of Microsoft, each layer has to stand on its own for what it brings. When we talk about our content, we want our content to be broadly available. Now, that speaks volumes to me because he's saying everywhere, okay? And I've been saying for a while, it sounds like Microsoft wants their stuff on as many screens as possible. Phil Spencer has even said this multiple times. Now, are they slowly conditioning people to being a third party kind of situation? Like, that to me is my opinion what they're doing. Okay, so they're conditioning people to go, oh, okay, well, I don't mind if these games are on other platforms because I can play them day and day on Game Pass, right? Like, that's the more and more the take that I see from Xbox fans. So to me, they're conditioning you to get ready for the eventual reality of multi-plat and third-party kind of platform. And they might still have a console, right? Just in the much way, you guys remember the Steam boxes and stuff like that? Those were basically, I remember people saying that was going to kill consoles, and it didn't. But Steam is sort of like that. Steam doesn't really do exclusives anymore. I mean, they did that Half-Life Alyx, but other than that, when was the last time they came out with anything exclusive? They're realistically just kind of an app, and I think that's what Microsoft wants. I think Microsoft wants to be an app, and I think Microsoft wants to be able to go out there and have people like spend money on their services. And they don't really care about the whole console thing or the exclusivity thing like that, not realizing that, listen, you can have this stuff day and date, and I think that's great, and that's going to attract a certain kind of player. But if you have exclusives, that's going to also attract a certain type of player, and those are the type of players that actually spend a good amount of money on your software services, hardware, all that stuff in between. So I think people really kind of are off the mark a little bit with that, just kind of going forward or whatever. You know what I mean? So I do think that that's going to be very interesting to see how that sort of plays out later on down the road with Microsoft and Sony kind of going into this sort of situation. But again, I don't feel like Sony has to answer Microsoft. I don't feel like they have to go out and buy Rockstar Games or anything like that, because I feel like they have a very strong lineup and a very they're probably very content with what they're doing. So again, if you're thinking that Microsoft is going to put these things exclusive, I honestly don't see that happening. Deathloop, Ghostwire Tokyo, still PlayStation 5 console launch exclusives next year. So, I think that's going to be very fun to kind of see if that's how it works out. So again, I think the evidence backs up what I'm saying, since they're actually launching and they're actually going to be able to self-publish all their own games. Like, wouldn't Microsoft and Xbox Game Studios be the ones publishing if these games were going to be multi-plat? See, I think that's the way it would go. Like for Bethesda to publish their own game still, I just think that this is a situation where they definitely have their eyes on kind of keeping things multi-plat as much as possible. And it also seems like there might be some exclusives down the line, or some kind of thing like I was talking about, maybe a spin-off, or where the Doom people do. That's just an example. I haven't heard anything like that, but like the Doom developer doing a spin-off to Halo, or Fallout New Vegas 2, something like that could be exclusive. I could see something like that happening. but I don't see Elder Scrolls 6 with as much money and time that's been taken into developing that game, and probably still another 5 years away. I don't see something like that being, you know, exclusive or anything like that. That's just my opinion anyway. Hold on. Johnny Patton says $70 a pop versus $15. Enough said. Well, listen, like I said, and if you're just joining me, Johnny, and I brought up this perfectly amazing analogy. The games are full price on Steam, and you could still get, if you're on a PC, people are buying more of Microsoft's titles on Steam for full price than they are buying an Xbox or playing the games on Windows Store for Game Pass for that $10 a pop or whatever, right? So if you think people would give up their ecosystem just because Microsoft did this, you're sadly mistaken. That's not going to happen. If so, we wouldn't have saw 5 million people buy the Halo Master Chief Collection on Steam for full price. They would have just played it for $10 on the Windows Store, or bought a cheap Xbox One to play it, right? The fact of the matter is, people want to play on the platform that they prefer, and as long as the games are available, whether they cost money or not, listen, gamers are old school. Games have always cost money. So regardless of whether or not, you know, you're going to have to pay full price for them or not, which anyway, Bethesda games go down in value very quickly, and you can get them for less than half that, usually within a couple month period. Like, you're still going to be able to play those games on PlayStation. So unless Microsoft grows a set and decides to make things exclusive, I don't think PlayStation fans have anything to worry about. And not only do they not have anything to worry about, but in the foreseeable future, the next 2 Bethesda games are still PlayStation exclusives probably for a year. So, again, I fail to see how this is going to help Microsoft at all in the short term, right? Like, is anybody going to go, I'm going to go get me an Xbox Series X or an Xbox Series S because I'm going to be able to play maybe a Bethesda game in 5 years that could be exclusive, but at the very least it's going to go to Game Pass day and date. Like, are you going to do that tomorrow for something 5 years from now? I don't really think that's going to happen. I don't really think that's going to happen. I don't see that happening. Now, Microsoft has put themselves in a very interesting, in a very interesting place for sure. What am I saying? I'm saying that people would rather buy games on Steam for full price than pay for a Game Pass subscription on Windows. I suspect that people that are into the PlayStation ecosystem will gladly pay full price for Bethesda games on PlayStation rather than switching over to Xbox and getting those games day and date on PC. That's all I'm saying. You know? Ray Martinez Jr. says, you are a flip-flopper. To be a fan of a console, you stick with them. Listen, guy, this is not life, dude. Stick with them. You know, stick with them. They were delivering no content. You know, early on when I was an Xbox fan and doing pro Xbox videos and stuff like that, we had games. You see the difference? We had games. That's a huge difference than what's going on right now. We actually had games. That says it all to me. Okay? So I was at least honest about that. I think a lot of people, if they're sitting there cheerleading Xbox right now, waving the pom-poms, what are they cheering about? A piece of hardware? Like, we actually had games to cheer about at the time. Like, even this move right now, what is that getting them? What is that getting anybody? To be honest, I'm just curious. Because you're going to get games, but they're just multiplats. Okay? Here my applause. 65. All in, man. All in on that next generation, man. I want to experience those. And again, I know that I probably could have experienced this stuff with PC before, but I'm not a PC gamer at all. I can't like the new PC that I have right now has a 1080 Ti in it, and I still wouldn't game on it. Okay? Like, I can render videos faster than I ever could before. Like, the videos, like, I could even render 4K videos. I wouldn't be able to upload them because my internet speed sucks, but I could render 4K videos super fast, you know, because I'm rendering 1080p 60 videos now in, like, 10 minutes. So, yeah, I could definitely do, it's exciting for me because mine was outdated a bit, and mainly my CPU was, I have to still get some more memory. I'd like to up my memory by, put another 8 gigs or so in. But, yeah, I think that things are kind of evening out. Plus, I'm able to actually record the gameplay footage at the highest fidelity possible now, whereas before when I used to use my Elgato, I wasn't able to use the high. I had to lower the bit rate sometimes because the files were a little bit too big, and it would take a longer time. But now that I have a much better PC, I'm able to sort of download and sort of get the most out of it, in my opinion. So yeah, that to me changes pretty much everything with how this next gen is kind of shaping up. So yeah, I'm excited about what's going on. But again, if you're an Xbox fan, be excited. I think that's big news. You're going to be able to play the next Elder Scrolls 6 in 2026. Day and date in Game Pass. You're going to be able to play Starfield in 2027. A day and date in Game Pass. Hooray. You're going to get to play the next Fallout 76 update in Game Pass day and date. That's a 49 rated game, by the way. So, yeah, you guys are going to get to play all the great stuff, and it's going to be funner than ever, and it's going to be fantastic, and you guys are all going to be extremely happy and things like that. So, yeah, for me personally, if you guys have any questions, please hit the like button. Let's get up over 500 likes. I am about to drop some game codes in here if anybody is interested, just to sort of get as a thank you and whatnot for doing this. But if you do want Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning on the Xbox One or Xbox One X, or maybe you're just an old school Xbox One fat fan, yeah, then by all means, go ahead and kind of get it up there. Let's go. Panthorium, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. You know what? Listen. Anybody who's excited by what's going on with the future of gaming knows that this is just the beginning, man. Sony will probably come up with something. They don't have to do anything super quick or anything like that. They honestly don't. There's absolutely no needs. There's no needs. Bum bum. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, hold on. Next doc says, I do not understand these Xbox fans' mentalities. If your favorite sports teams get sucking, are you not going to demand better? Well, listen, some people don't demand better. I don't understand it at all either, my friend. But, a lot of people sort of just kind of have this idea that, they want to support mediocrity. Listen, I think if you're an Xbox fan, this is great, but I don't see necessarily the bragging rights anytime soon for this move. And that's just my opinion. I mean, if you think that something's different or this is the move for you, then by all means, go ahead and celebrate it. I honestly do think that that's great. But for me personally, I feel like this isn't like the end-all, be-all move that truly makes me want to go back to Xbox or think that Xbox is going to be, this fantastic thing or whatever. I think that Xbox is more along the lines of trying to, is really trying to be like that third-party company, and this kind of supports that. And like I said, even when you have Satya Nadella talking about it, I think that that's probably a bit of an issue. So yeah, like for me personally, is this a huge deal? Not necessarily. I don't necessarily think that it's a huge deal, but at the end of the day, people are going to decide what they want. I'm not going to try to tell you how to spend your money. If you want a PlayStation 5, get a PlayStation 5. If you really want to get a Xbox Series X, get an Xbox Series X. It really doesn't matter to me. You can get whatever you want and be happy with that. I think that, in the long run, whatever's going to make you happy as a fan of gaming, that's what you should probably do, and that's what you should probably get. For me personally, I'm happy. I'll probably end up with both at some point. I just feel like Sony, for the short term, have a much better lineup, and Sony has a much better idea. Hold on. Rich Dollars says, what do you mean? If your team is the Dolphins, it is what it is. Don't flip-flop to say I'm Kansas City. Well, listen, you're gonna request better from them. I didn't stop being an Xbox fan, guy. That's that's the truth. Like, listen, you're still not gonna you're still not going to be, you're going to want your team to do better. That's the thing. Like, a lot of Xbox fans haven't asked. I'm one of the few people that actually asked for them to be better, to do better. Okay. That I think is the big difference between me and a lot of people. You know what I mean? I've seen people cheerleading Xbox that literally never asked them to do better, just acts like the stuff that we're getting is perfectly fine and perfectly okay. And I've never been that way. You know what I mean? I just feel like that's the truth. You know, if you want things to get better, you have to actually ask. You have to actually demand to make things better. Look, PlayStation fans, they weren't happy with the way Sony handled some of these things. They demanded better. Sony came out and apologized. It is what it is, you know. They did a good job with that. I felt like they did a fantastic job with it. Now, how things are going to look in the future, I don't know. Is Sony scared? I doubt it. Are they shaking? I doubt it. Why would they be shaking? They literally are selling out everything they can. They literally are selling out their entire PlayStation 5. They're putting more stock in as we speak. They're doing everything. You know what I mean? There is literally no need for them to be worried about this. There's no need for them to be upset about this. There's no need for them to go out and buy up Take-Two and own NBA 2K or own Grand Theft Auto, because the amount of money that it would take to own Rockstar, you would have to keep the games multiplat in order for people to in order to make back the money, because that's how this stuff works. You've got to make money off of it. Like, if you're not making money, then what point does it make? You know, it doesn't really make points. Emoji says, what's wrong with multiplat? There's nothing wrong with multiplats. You know, there's nothing wrong with multiplats. But what's wrong with exclusives? That would be my kind of question. Panthorium says eBay scalpers are selling PS5 times four and 5 times the price. Dude, you're seeing them for over $1,000, man. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane the amount of people that are actually on there. Absolutely crazy to see that happening, in my opinion, anyway. So yeah, like, listen, I get it. Xbox fans are happy. They want everybody to think that this is some kind of huge blow. It's not really affecting Sony in the way that you think it is, though. I'm sorry. It isn't there. It isn't there. So, also, if you want to think about it in a funny way, and I did bring this up, just think of the things that Phil has given to other gamers this year, okay? Not Xbox console gamers, all right? Think about this. He gave Super Lucky's Tale to PlayStation, Cuphead to PlayStation, Minecraft VR exclusively to PlayStation, Ori 2 to the Switch, Flight Simulator, Gears Tactics, Age of Empires to the PC community. And what has he given Xbox gamers? And now think about next year, exclusively, they're going to put out 2 PlayStation exclusives, or at least timed exclusives, on PlayStation 5. Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo. Phil's such a good guy, isn't he? Right? Like, think about that. Those games, if they're a year exclusive, that means that those games aren't going to touch Xbox until 2022. So even if they're in Game Pass, does it really matter? Are you waiting a year to play these games? Like, to me, it doesn't make sense. If you're not willing to put these stuff as exclusive for your content, for your console, then honestly, it doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't seem like it's going to really affect anything long term, because I feel like both Microsoft and Sony have completely different reasons and completely different ideas as to what gamers want. And like Phil Spencer's idea is, hey, who cares if it's exclusive, as long as it's, in Game Pass day and date. And I think that that's, for me, not the right way to go about it. Just my opinion anyway. Just my opinion. Nintendo is in its own little bubble right now. Well, Nintendo does their own thing. Listen, we could sit there and say, hey, Nintendo, Nintendo doesn't do this, et cetera, but, I just feel like it's just one of those things that that sort of happens, Yeah, I'm excited by the future prospect. Hey, if Microsoft go about, if Microsoft go about things a certain way, then I think that it's fine. If they want to make, If they want to make things exclusive, I think that's fine. I think that would be a big move for them. But at the same time, you know, do I really think that they're going to do that? I don't really know. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? It'll be very interesting. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I'm excited to see what happens. Hey, if they do come out and grow a pair and say, hey, these games are going to be exclusive, then I think I might change my tune and say, hey, well, you know, we'll have to see what happens or whatever. But at the end of the day, so far, I haven't seen anything to warrant this as being, you know, as being a big deal in my opinion. So, I mean, we'll have to see. What do you guys think? That's the more important thing. What do you guys think? I mean, honestly, I would just love to know. I'm about to give away some free stuff. If you guys don't know, hit the like button, share it out, subscribe if you haven't already done so. I would appreciate that as much as possible. You guys are fantastic. And I really do hope that I hope that you guys, if you're an Xbox person, hey, more power to you. You know, like I said though, if you expect everybody to be blown away by this or think that it's like a death blow to Sony, I don't think that that's going to be the case. You know, sorry, I just don't see that happening. Like Sony has too many great first party things going on. So, just in my opinion anyway. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how it works out, huh? You know, maybe things will work out best. Maybe Phil will, you know, Phil will go out there and say, hey, we're going to put this content exclusively on our Xbox. So, yeah. Hey, can we get to 500? I know, dude. We're Venom Snake says, we think you're flip-flop. What the hell would there be to flip-flop about? Please, let me flip-flop back to Xbox so that I can play Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop next year exclusively on PlayStation 5. I can't wait to play Elder Scrolls 6 in 2026. Like, there's no reason to flip-flop. Anybody that would flip-flop for this news, I'd say they're kind of loopy, to be clear. Like, honestly, it makes no sense. You're not getting anything short-term from this. You're not getting anything. Like, please tell me what you're getting. You're literally getting nothing. It's literally doing nothing. I'm just saying. You know, I hope, you know, it's not what you guys think it is, honestly. Yeah, I wish that it was. But it's not, unfortunately. Hopefully, in the future, they might get some kind of exclusive out this. But again, I feel like this is something that would be years and years away. You know, honestly, just that's my opinion. Years and years away. Okay, hold on one second. Let me find this key. It's new, blah blah blah. Okay. Hopefully, anyway. So let's see. Jersey Finest, stop being sour. Give props, dude. What did I just say? I said it's a good move by Microsoft, but it's not a move that's going to hurt PlayStation in any way right now or anytime soon. Okay, it's just like everything else that Microsoft does. If they do decide to go the exclusives route with some of these IP or some of the IP later on, you're still looking at past 2025. Okay, I'm sorry. Like, what do you want me to say? I mean, I could sit there and lie to you guys, but the truth of the matter is, until they go out there and actually deliver some content, it doesn't really matter. It honestly doesn't matter. So I'm just kind of being honest about it, you know? It honestly doesn't matter. I'm just being, I mean, I could sit there and go, this is the best thing ever. But again, until there's something there exclusively, it honestly just doesn't matter. I'm sorry. Maybe one day it will, but we don't really know, do we? Hopefully, stuff changes. I don't know. We'll have to check it out anyway. Hold on. There's another super chat. Mr. Heisenberg says Xbox fans are more focused about what they could have instead of what they actually have, which is a bad launch compared to PlayStation. I mean, look, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out, right? Like they don't have a very strong launch lineup. They don't have a very strong year next year. And in fact, they're in another situation where they're buying these studios that have PlayStation content lined up. So I think that's really sort of changing everything around. You know? That's the big deal to me. Like, in my opinion, anyway. So yeah, we'll see how it goes anyway. Hopefully things work out the way you guys want them, but I have a feeling that things aren't going to be as good as you guys think. If you think you're going to get all kinds of, these exclusives out of this thing, then you guys obviously haven't been paying attention to what Phil Spencer has been saying for years and years and years. Iron Bandit says, flipping, what is there to flip about? Please tell me. Dude, I'm doing a podcast about it because I have a gaming channel and I talk about the news in gaming. So yeah, I mean, I'm answering questions and talking to you guys as just a gamer to other gamers. It has nothing to do with damage control. What is there to damage control? Please tell me one thing that this is what there is to damage control. What out of this news today affects Xbox this year, next year, or the year after? Please tell me. Please tell me. Anybody. Anybody. Exactly. This doesn't help Microsoft at all for years and years, if at all. If at all. I'm just saying. It's not exactly what you think. These are the same guys who wanted you to downplay Sony buying Insomniac. Yeah, you know what? Listen, I think Sony will they're not done buying studios either. Will they make a splash like this? No, but whenever Sony buys a studio, are those games going to be exclusive to PlayStation? Absolutely. Absolutely they will be. So, I mean, I think that's going to be probably the biggest difference that you see between, Xbox and PlayStation going forward is anything that Xbox buys, it seems like that's just strictly a thing designed to help out Game Pass. Where if you look at PlayStation, anything that they buy, like studio-wise for PlayStation, seems to clearly be for PlayStation and intended for PlayStation studios and things like that to build PlayStation exclusive content and PlayStation exclusive games. So that to me is probably the biggest difference out of everything that we've seen here. So yeah, like to me personally, that's a huge difference. Hold on, I'll answer a few more questions before I get the heck out of here. Xbox has no VR. This is accurate. Let's see. What do you think about PS Now coming to PC? It's been on PC for years. I don't really think anything about it, to be honest with you. You got over 500 likes. Damn. Yeah, I appreciate it. I prefer to pay $10 and play 200 games than spend 70 for one. Hey, dude, that's on you, man. That's on you. For me personally, the type of games that I play, they're usually not on Game Pass, or they come there like a year or two later. So it's not really a big deal to me. But I'm good through 2022 on Game Pass anyway. we got this gen end of story. I don't know what gen are you talking. If you're talking about Xbox in this gen, you have to remember that PlayStation is a huge worldwide brand, and if you don't have the content that is going to attract people, then it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. Captain Future says Microsoft bought Bethesda. It's hold on, I might have just lost that. Xbox has all the big RPGs: Avowed, Skyrim, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and more. Sony ponies with worship. No, dude, listen, those games are going to come to Xbox as well. Let's see. Where is that? I saw. Have you played all PlayStation 4 exclusive? I haven't played all of them because not all of them appeal to me. Just like the Xbox stuff, like not everything Xbox really appeals to me. So yeah, it really just kind of depends on the games and things like that. Uh, Sorry, I was trying to sort of pay attention to somebody, but I lost your chat. Microsoft is everywhere. I bet Doom, Fallout, and Elder Scrolls will still be everywhere. Yeah, I mean, look, those games are going to stay multi-plat. I wouldn't expect them to go exclusive. It wouldn't make sense. That's not in line with Microsoft's thinking. Gaming with Ripley, he says, crap. I don't understand. Let's see. Fallout Crapgamer. I found out about PlayStation Now on PC because Xbox fanboys were making a fuss about it. Yeah, it's been on PC for a long time, you know. But I think it's like what you can only it's only up to 30 frames per second or whatever, so they're not natively on there. I wouldn't be surprised if as we get more into next generation, Sony puts PS4 games on PC. You might even see some PS5 games, but they're definitely not going to be day and date. I feel like they're smarter than that. There would be a huge fallout from that from the PlayStation community, though, and I feel like it'd be a mistake for them to do that. Just my opinion, anyway. Not great at gaming says new Bethesda games will be Xbox and PC exclusive. Already announced games will be on PlayStation, but nothing else. Starfield will be on PlayStation, but not sure about Elder Scrolls 6. No future Fallout games will be PlayStation. How do you know that? So let me tell you. Let's just say you're right, okay? So let's say Fallout, or let's say Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be on PlayStation, and that comes out in 2025. When would the next one be? 2030? Like, you're already talking 10 years from now. Like, honestly, who cares at that point? Who cares at that point? That's all I'm saying. Soul Silver says it's only a matter of time for the tide to turn in favor of Team Green. What tide to turn? What? I mean, they're not going to get a bigger install base without exclusives. You know what I mean? At 7.5 billion, those games have to remain multi-plat to recoup the money. Yeah, that's pretty much kind of my line of thinking. I think that they eventually might try to offer something that's coming to other platforms or whatever, but and eventually down the line. But who knows when that would be? That's always been sort of my thought to this anyway. So hopefully, you know, hopefully we kind of see a little bit of a difference kind of going forward there or whatever. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, with that being said, I think it's time to heck out of here. You know, hold on. I'm gonna. Oh, you guys ready? I'm gonna give away a game. I'm going to give away a game. You guys got your thing. This is for. Let's see. This is definitely for Xbox. So you guys might want to get your little Xbox stuff open. I'm gonna put the code in the chat, and then somebody can get it. Okay. This is an Xbox game. Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning. Here we go. I'm gonna drop it. It's gonna go into the chat. You guys ready? Hit the like button if you're ready. Let's go. There we go. I just dropped it. Hey, if somebody gets that, let me know, and I will gladly be appreciative of it. And yeah, enjoy the game. Enjoy it. Yeah, it's cool stuff. It's a very cool game if you guys like RPGs. It's very cool. Got it. The great be rich. Okay, man. I appreciate it, man. I'm glad you got the game. Enjoy it. Um, Hey, man, listen, Panthorium, it's all just video games, man. It's all fun and games. People can be excited about their platforms. It doesn't matter to me if they're excited or not. I honestly do hope that it turns out the way that they want it. You know what I mean? Like, is it always going to be that way? I don't know. Do I think these things are going to be multi-plat? Probably. Do I think there could be exclusives years and years from now? Yeah. Is it going to matter? That I mean, that's a totally different story. We'll have to see how that kind of works out. But I do appreciate everybody coming out here, and shout out to all the subscribers. And please hit the like button before you leave, share it out, all that kind of good stuff. I'm very appreciative of this. The time you guys take out to spend with me on these type of shows. Thank you so much, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. And I hope everything works out for you. I'm going to hook up my new TV, maybe get some gaming in. Of course, I don't get my PlayStation back yet. It's broken, but I still got my One X, and I can play my Switch. So yeah, that's cool. Anyway, I appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you so much for coming out and watching the show. Have a fantastic day. We'll catch you next time. Honestly, thank you very much. It has been a pleasure to do this show. And like I said, it's always going to be a place where we can talk gaming and stuff like that. I enjoy it, even if you disagree with me. Then, it's fine. We can still have a fantastic debate, and I love doing that as well. So have a great day.